And a very good evening. Folk Tuesdays, you're all very, very welcome. What is Folk Tuesdays? What are Folk Tuesdays? It's a chance to spend a kind of relaxed half an hour with someone from a folk background, someone we can get to know better, learn about their music, have a glass of wine with them, and we all enjoy ourselves. I hope you do. And so to get straight on with it, as they say, it's Vern and Annie Brown who are welcoming. And here they be. Now,
good evening.
I hope you can see us, Vern and Annie, because as far as I can gather, what you're looking at is about postage stamp size.
That's right. Yeah. You're very small, Tom, tonight. You really are. So, yeah, we can see you and hear you clearly. Thank you. So,
well, you're looking fine, so that's great. Thank you, first of all, for coming. For those that don't know, let me just do, there's no need to do where the fire escapes and toilets are. That's good, because you should know that. That's all at home. What you won't know is that or you may not know, that there is a chat function, and whatever you would like me to ask to Annie and Vern, and later on Steve, just bung it in the chat box and I'll do my very best to do that. I think that's probably the only rule of the evening. What I'm going to start with then, if I may, is just to find a little bit about both of you. We've got a half an hour and you're going to do some songs for us in a bit. Some of those you write yourselves, and let's hear a little, if we can, about how that happens.
Well, usually,
who's the songwriter?
Well, usually Vernon comes up with a tune or the melody, with just strumming around with some chords and things, and then we sort of look at it together, and I normally write the words. That's how it usually happens, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, but there's lots of things that inspire us, and I think being together really helps as well, bouncing off ideas off each other. Often waking up 2 o'clock in the morning with a sudden idea, and as Annie does, is just
enough.
Yeah, record it into a phone, and off we go then, and decide whether that's good or not in the morning. So is that too much information?
I wondered where that was going for a minute, but no, that's fine. That's what we want to know about. So tell me the kind of thing that you might want to be trying to do. Is it all original? We'll hear some in a minute, but do you copy? Do you have something that particularly you go chasing after?
Well, with our own songs, we just sort of write about stuff that occurs to us, really. But we try and structure the song so that there's verses and bridges, and then I try and do a harmony, whether that's with a song we've written ourselves or one that we're doing as a cover, to sort of structure a harmony around it, more sort of counterpointy than harmony, because I try and think of that as sort of almost another melody running along with the song. So we do spend a lot of time structuring them and working them out and blocking our songs, don't we? Whether it's a cover or original.
That's right, and practicing and trying to learn it off by heart, obviously, and trying to enhance it really all the time. So something that we wrote maybe a year ago, we've kept practicing and developing it and trying other things. On one of our songs, one more day with you, we just introduced an a cappella at the start, and at the end. So just to break things up a bit, to try to make it interesting, and changing the chords, the chord sequences. But it's just ideas really. What we'd also like to do is with cover versions of songs, we don't want it to sound like the original, because the original is usually perfect, it's fantastic, and if you're taken by the song and you try to reinvent that, what we try to do is just have a different version ourselves, so something like Mad World, we just changed it to our version, make it very acoustic and very folky, so
now, I'm sure that must be the right thing to do. You can't compete, can you, with something that people have heard a million times, but it's surprising how often you're able to produce something that is different and very valuable for what it is, even though the fundamentals of it we know quite well.
That's right.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Why don't we hear a song?
Okay.
That would be nice. Paul, I think you're pressing buttons, just so people know. I'll tell you now. We just to be sure that we can get the best production that we can. We record these. The chat is absolutely live, but we record these and then get rid, we hope, of any glitches that there might be that the internet brings our way. Right, Paul, sorry.
Always knew that there was someone waiting slightly out of reach in the half light or in shadow. I never knew where you would be. You whispered through the wind, your echo beckoning, stepped out of the dark and shade. He took my heart and took my hand too. And all the shadows slipped away. And now in the night I feel you hold me tight. And in the morning you are there. You are there. You are there. You are there.
Brilliant. Utterly brilliant. Loved it. Loved it.
Thank you, Tom.
As did Jenny Peniston, Sharon Sweeney, Ronnie Nimmo, Tony Purdy, Cutting the Mustard, Adrian Peniston, Robbie Nash, Claudia Meyer, Leslie Purr. It goes on and on and on. And
Wow.
I'll catch up. We won't have time for any more singing. It was. Is that an example of counterpoint then?
That's an
A bit.
example, I suppose, of a bit of writing the harmony, which is like a bit of a melody as well. I just try and avoid, I think traditionally harmonies are there to support the main voice, and they're kind of a bit vertical, aren't they? Like in choirs, it's all about whether it goes with the note above, but I'm more interested in the pattern it creates, I suppose, around the original melody. It's important to support the tune as well, but I like the harmony to be a melody of its own, I suppose.
I
So
tried to.
counterpoint-ish.
I tried to, because when we were chatting earlier on a few days ago, you mentioned counterpoint. I thought, I don't know anything about counterpoints. I'm going to look it up. And it's worse than algebra. So I can't understand it at all. Anyway, let's have another song.
We all sit here, all of us orphans, all of us with less time ahead than there is behind, all of us knowing we're more ebbing than flowing,
Well done.
Thank
Filling
you.
my home with love, says Sharon. Lovely. It goes on and on. Take it from me. Take it from me. And I'm going to be slightly indiscreet because that's your song. You've written it. But you've only, I think, been together for 4 or 5 years. And
Yes.
Yeah, 5 years.
and Vern is about to retire quite soon. So you've been working full time. I mean, that's a great kind of standard to get to. You do an enormous amount of work and practicing. I guess you must do. That
Yeah.
just by accident, doesn't it?
No, it's right. It's like I used to be a football coach, and we used to say about good practice makes perfect, and we don't get it right all the time. And some of our live performances are quite scary, really. But the more you practice, the less you get wrong. So that's the only thing. Neither of us have been singing in public for very long either. Only 5 years, I think. I think we discussed this, Tom. You might have seen me stand up in public for the first time ever. At Wavell, yeah. So that wasn't that long ago, So.
Yeah, a song you're going to do later on. I remember it, and because I thought, I don't know, do I imagine this? I rang a guy who would have been with me. He said, "Do you remember?" And he did too. So there we go.
Okay.
We were there. We were there when it started. We're going to have another song.
You're not a ship to carry my life. You are nailed to my love on many lonely nights. Straight from the cottages, found myself here. I need your love. Your love protects my fears. And I wonder sometimes, I know I'm unkind, but I need you to turn to when I act so blind. I need you to turn to when I lose control. You're my guardian angel who keeps out the cold. Did you paint your smile on when I said I knew that my reason for living is for loving you? We're related in feeling. You're high above. You're pure and you're gentle with the grace of a dove. And I wonder sometimes, I know I'm unkind, but I need you to turn to when I act so blind. I need you to turn to when I lose control. You're my guardian angel who keeps out the cold. Did you paint your smile on when I said I knew that my reason for living is for loving you? We're related in feeling. You're high above. You're pure and you're gentle with the grace of a dove. And I
Thank you
Tom.
very much.
Well performed, adding the bass line to the chorus. So special. Love this one. Lots of claps. Enjoying this one. Really good. Enjoying all your lovely songs. So glad your lovely songs. So glad you came out of the closet.
I haven't done that yet.
But actually, that's from Siobhan. She should talk. She's all the way over here, having come out of the closet from Brazil. So,
Of course, yeah.
good evening, Siobhan, and hope you and Dolly are well. And thanks for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Paul, I don't know if we can skip straight, because time's whizzing on. If we can skip straight to the LNN, can we? Is that a possibility? I'll leave him to figure that out. And if it doesn't happen, I'll know he can't.
When I was a curly-haired baby, my daddy sat me down on his knee, saying, son, you go to school, you learn your letters. Now don't you be no dusty miner boy like me. I was born and raised in the mouth of the Hazard Harbor, where those coal carts roll, they rumble past my door. Now they stand in a rusty row, all empty, because the L&N, it don't stop here anymore. I used to think my daddy was a black man who was script enough to buy the company store. But now he goes to town with empty pockets, and Lord, his face is white as a February snow. Well, I was born and raised in the mouth of the Hazard Harbor, where those coal carts roll, they rumble past my door. Now they stand in a rusty row, all empty, because the L&N, it don't stop here anymore. Never thought I'd learn to love the coal dust. Never thought I'd hear those temples roar. My God, I wish the grass would turn to money, and then them greenbacks will fill my pockets once more. Well, I was born and raised in the mouth of the Hazard Harbor, where those coal carts roll, they rumble past my door. Now they stand in a rusty row, all empty, because the L&N, you don't stop here anymore.
Did you know the history of that?
Oh, the LNN.
Yeah.
I was a big Michelle Shop fan, and also I understand it was written by Gene
Ritchie.
Ritchie. Yeah, Gene
Yeah.
Ritchie.
Did you know?
About the.
Sorry, go on.
It's just about the collapse of the industry in the Midwest, and but that's as much as I know, Tom. You probably know a lot more about it than I do.
Only because I've looked it up. And I suddenly thought I should know more about this than I did. And actually, yeah, you're dead right. She did write it, but she wrote it not as Gene Ritchie. She wrote it as Tan Hall, Than Hall. It was her grandfather, and she put it out under that name by all accounts because she didn't want to get tangled up with all the politics and nastiness that were going on at the time. Kentucky was where that was set, and the Hallowed Hollow was where the trains used to come past, and that's actually where she lived.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is the whole great thing about folk music, isn't it? You can actually find something real in it, and great. We had the stuff that you did yourselves earlier on, which is real and it's you. Now we've got other people coming into the picture, and that leaves us, I think, with One Morning in May. I hope I've got this right. You can tell people who are watching that Paul and I aren't in the same room, so we're not exactly communicating as slickly as we might be able to, but we're learning. Let's see what comes next.
One morning, one morning, one morning in May, I spied a young couple, they were making their way. One was a maiden, so bright and so fair, and the other was a soldier and a brave volunteer. Good morning, said he. And where are you going, my pretty lady? I'm going out a-walking on the banks of the sea, just to see the waters rise and hear the nightingale sing. Standing but a minute or two, when out of his knapsack a fiddle he drew, and the tune that he played made the valleys all ring. Oh, heart, cried the maiden, hear the nightingale sing. Fair maiden, 'tis time to give a word. Oh no, kind soldier, please play one tune more, for I'd rather hear your fiddle at the touch of one string than to see the waters rise and hear the nightingale sing. Oh, soldier, children twice three, 2 wives and the army's too many for me. But I'll go back to London, I'll stay there for a year. It's often I think of you, my little dear, but if ever I return, it will be in the spring, just to see the waters rise and hear the nightingale sing. See the waters rise and hear the nightingale sing.
Lovely. And here's a special message for you. It's from your cousin Carol, who's having breakfast in Australia as you're singing away there. So hello and good morning to Australia. Big virtual hugs from Carol to you, and you're sounding lovely, Annie, she says. So
thank you.
Isn't that just a brilliant
the house move goes well?
It's what's brilliant about this technology is that here we are, we can link up to Norfolk, you and Cromer, and Australia. It's magnificent. Look, I want to thank you very sincerely and very much for coming along. And I know that Dolly says, wow. Yeah, well done, Dolly. And I know that you put an awful lot of work into this, and you were at it all over again yesterday, and you couldn't have done us more proud than you have. It makes my evening so much fun and so easy. So thank you, and I'm going to give you a big round of applause from everybody. And we look forward
to having us. It's been so lovely.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Thanks for inviting us along, and really enjoyed it. And thanks to you and your team, Paul and Mark as well. And good luck to Steve as well. So, but thanks for having us, and we hope to meet you in person one day, because we still haven't met, have we? So.
No, we haven't. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you then.
Good night, Dal.
Good night.
So, Steve, we have got, and Steve, a doyen of East Anglian folk. Where's Steve? He's gone away. No, there he is. There he is.
Yeah, I think that's very kind of you to say. I think doyen would probably be laying on a bit, but you'll have seen me in lots of places. If you're a folkie, then I'm always there in some way or another at your folk club.
Yeah,
you said.
No, you've been everywhere, done everything. The editor of Earache, which is back out again, writes comical stuff, natural historian. We'll find out a lot more as the evening goes on. Tell us a little about Earache and how long that's been going, Steve.
Well, after a while, I started to realise there were lots of folk clubs around, and I started to visit them, and I realised that in my home folk clubs, the ones close to my home, people never really went anywhere. So I thought, well, I will do a sort of a leaflet. It started as a leaflet, really, to show people what there was around. And so I started to write often quite comical sort of sketches of the folk clubs I went to.
Hurtful. I was on the wrong end of one.
Oh, well,
I've been waiting to get my own back on you for years.
I forget what I said, but occasionally it could be that it can be that people might take what I say the wrong way, possibly, or maybe they took it the right way. But what it did do was it encouraged people to go out. A friend and I, John Matthews, we went very long way, really. We went to Wisbeach was our furthest, but Wolferton, all of around the county, and then I started going down into Suffolk. So I go as far as Southwold, Westleton, the Eelsfoot at Eastbridge, and what it did was it encouraged all the others to go to those places as well. And so we picked up, and then when we went to these places, we found that those people, the places we went to, they came to see us, because I was distributing this thing printed on paper to start with. But eventually, of course, the inevitable happened, and I was forced to send it online because there were so many sort of contributors or not. My poor friend John Matthews, he started, I asked him if he'd write a few series or free reviews, but he thought I meant serious reviews. So when I looked at what he'd given me, I thought, I can't do this. So I started a column called John Matthews' Dear Diary, of course, none of which he had written, which was much better and much more amusing. Anyway, that was enough of Earache, really.
Well, what you have done, Steve, without a doubt, is over the very many years you've been doing this, you have spread the folk network round, and we all owe you a big debt of gratitude for that. Another thing that has always impressed me, and we've had you a couple of times to do these Old Wild Rovers gigs, and you write some very funny things, and we've asked you to do one of those tonight. And actually that hasn't been recorded, so we sort of dumped that on you last thing, and you bravely said you'd have a go live. So we'll hear the reason it was written, and then we'll hear the song.
Okay, well, initially, when I used to go to folk clubs, I just stood there pretty dumb most of the night. And I thought one day, I can do this. So I said to a friend of mine, Molly, I'm going to do Scarborough Fair. If something goes wrong, just nudge me back on the line. So I started to sing Scarborough Fair, but unfortunately, everyone else started to sing a different version to me. And then as I sank towards the floor, I heard this voice go, "That's Angie's song." At which point I thought, there has got to be a different way around this. And as it happened, a lovely story fell into my lap about the village of Binham, where someone had bought a house next door to the pub in Binham, and they weren't local. And after a short time, they decided to sue the pub over noise. Didn't go down well, partly because the pub was owned in such a way that its monies distributed fuel to the local poor people. But anyway, this was the song that came up. The person who they also had the ill fortune to for it to be August, so the story was carried in most national newspapers, complete with photographs of the house and the pub. So anyway, I think the chap finally had to sort of crawl back into his hole. But this is the song that came out of it. We are the urban dwellers, moved to the countryside. We made a bit of money, with you we now reside. We like your pretty picture, we love your rosy cheeks. We would like to change some bits, we've been here several weeks. The local village drunkard, when he leaves the King's Head, he urinates against the wall, sometimes my neighbour's shed. We call the social worker to organise his life. It will be so good for him, or so says my dear wife. Down at Cherry Cottage, a table stood outside. They sold their local produce, well, someone might have died. We call the health inspector, who condemned all the lot. Now the table it has gone, it's tidied up their plot. We're on the local council to do our bit, you see. We prosecuted Farmer Jones for cutting down that tree. We prevented Widow Perkin from having double glazed. We do not want that type of thing, changing our village ways. Soon there'll be a restaurant serving French cuisine, and a pretty bijou shop with designer dresses in. Our friends, they seem to like it, they'll all be coming soon. And when they get tired of it, it's convenient for town. All good gifts around us come wrapped in cellophane. Refrigerate, refrigerate, refrigerate again. Urban dwellers.
And there's a whole store like that. How many of those have you got tucked away there somewhere?
Well, I've probably got about 20 or so that are mostly chorusy type songs, and I can force people to sing the choruses even if they don't know the songs. I've got about 20 of those, but after the Urban Dwellers one, I was writing things about friends, and lots of them are sort of time limited, so they are no longer in the repertoire. But I noticed a little book I wrote them down in, laying on a table the other day, and I thought, must have a rummage through it and see what's in there.
I've got the Binham Pub Appreciation Society. We've started a series of comments on the Binham Pub here. Lovely little pub. And there's lots of clapping of hands. and all of that. Let's have now one of the recorded pieces, Paul, if we can.
I roam and ramble in lonely places, all in the cooling of the rain, over rolling hills and rugged mountains, on sandy heath or grassy plain. And should you ask, am I content there? I'd answer yes, oh yes indeed, for my love it is for lonely places, where springs lead down, where ravens feed. I seek and find these lonely places, where bounds the heron deer run, over crags of grey and mossy boulders, shaded from the morning sun. And should you ask, am I at ease there? I'd answer yes, oh yes indeed, for my heart it dwells in lonely places, where springs lead down, where ravens feed. I yearn and long for lonely places, where hunts the fox and badgers play, where midnight stars shine at their brightest, where snows lie deep, where mists hang grey. And should you ask, am I at home there? I'd answer yes, oh yes indeed, for my desires are for lonely places, where springs lead down, where ravens feed. I lose myself in lonely places, on heather moor and bracken fell, and windowing on conversations. It always has so much to tell. And should you ask, am I at peace there? I'd answer yes, oh yes indeed, for my need it is for lonely places, where springs lead down, where ravens feed. I roam and ramble in lonely places, all in the cooling of the rain, over rolling hills and rugged mountains, on sandy heath or grassy plain. And should you ask, am I content there? I answer yes, oh yes indeed, for my love it is for lonely places, where springs lead down, where ravens feed.
There was some debate, Steve, about whether that picture quality was good enough for tonight. And I was absolutely convinced that we had to play that. And we had to play it because, first of all, when you recorded that, you had no idea it was ever going to be played to anybody. And secondly, it's absolutely symptomatic of folk music and your part in it. what it does, it brings history, and it brings culture and tradition, and folk music is as much about all of those things, isn't it, as is about performing. And I just thought that was stunning. I found it really moving, and where it was recorded, and the hatchment, and perhaps you just wanted to tell us a little bit about the hatchment, and Philippa, of course, who was with you.
Yeah, well, Philippa lives in Westleton in Suffolk, and at some stage we did sort of collaborate a bit, and that one that you've just seen is the first recording we ever made, and we did it in Darsham Church, as you say. That I think the light coming through the window was, and it was only on an iPad, the recording, so it wasn't a great one, but it comes across really well. It's a great song by Graham Miles.
I completely agree with that. I've just got to say that. Absolutely.
Yeah, and the hatchment behind us, which you'll have noticed was a sort of diamond-shaped coat of arms, made us think, well, we could do a series of these, which we did do, and we called them the hatchment sessions, and put them on YouTube. And so hatchments are just something that you find in churches, because they were the coats of arms that hung outside your house when the head of the household died. So, but obviously churches inherited a lot of them.
Well, that gives great sparkle, great energy, great everything, and great justification for folk music. And coming back to how you've networked it all just hangs together so beautifully. Let's have another piece of music.
I'm sailing away, my own true love. I'm sailing away in the morning. Is there something I can send you from across the sea? From the place where I'll be landing? Now there's nothing you can send me, my own true love. There's nothing I'm wishing to be owning. Just bring yourself back to me unspoiled from across that lonesome ocean. Oh, but I just thought you might want something fine, made of silver or of gold, either from the mountains of Madrid or from the coast of Barcelona. If I had the stars from the darkest night, or diamonds from the deepest ocean, I'd forsake them all for your sweet kiss. That's all I'm wishing to be owning. And I might be gone a long, long time. Is only why I'm asking. Is there something I can send you to remember me by, to make the time more easy passing? Oh, how can you ask me again? You know it brings me sorrow, the same thing I would want from you today, I would want again tomorrow. I got a letter on a lonesome day. It was from her ship a-sailing, saying I don't know when I'll be coming back again. It depends on how I'm feeling. Well, if you, my love, must think this way, I know your mind is a roaming, I know your heart is not with me, but to the country where you are going. So take heed of the western wind, take heed of stormy weather, and yes, there's something you can send back to me. Spanish boots of Spanish leather.
You're in it.
Yeah.
Singing about it, you're in it. And that has such a resonance. Tell us a little, because I mean, this wasn't something that was necessarily planned as a bit of outside broadcast. This kind of happened, didn't it?
Well, anyone who knows me, I've got 2 or 3 favourite places to play outside. One of them is Hayden Village, which is a lovely little privately owned village, but also outside Cly Church, or on the green at Cly. And one day this man cycled by, and then he stopped and came back and said, could he record me? And I said, yeah, fine, anything. And after he'd recorded, we exchanged details. And 2 or 3 days later, he rang me up and said, could he record me some more? And we agreed to meet on the green. And because he was a German, and I knew that there was a German that was one of the people in Made in Clay, the shop in Clay, I agreed to that. And he picked me up. We went in his car, and we went down the lane, which is really in Wiverton. And when we rounded the corner, there was an array of tripods sort of in my vision. I couldn't believe it, really. So we sat down. He'd been doing a sort of project on the lane that we were in, and he thought that he might use some of this. Whether he actually did, I don't know, but he made a fabulous DVD for me, of which you just saw a part of. And those 2 big oak trees very nicely concealed the sewage works behind them. So it had quite a nice backdrop. And to show how live it was, that car went by, which we hadn't sort of allowed for.
What
Anyway.
What isn't being said, what Steve isn't telling you, is that the guy who did the filming there, his name is Wolfgang, and the Cly pottery that was being talked about there is always been there for a long, long time, big cooperative. And one of the things that they do there, apart from jewelry and pottery and stuff, is photography. And the work that Wolfgang does sells in that shop for thousands and thousands and thousands. So there you go. And you deserved it. Let's have another piece of music.
It's a long farewell to Genoa that rises to the sky, where the barren coast of Italy, like our own coastline, lies. A sad farewell to Genoa, and long my heart will grieve. For it's the only city in the world that I was longing to leave. Oh, she was fair in Genoa,
Got to read you some more of these. Lovely place to play, and really shows off the sound. Lovely, well done. Lovely sound from the church. Great song. I love it when the car went past. Great story behind the film, and so it goes on. Steve, people who don't know you had the opportunity tonight to be able to kind of say hi to a bit of a legend, and you've done, well, you have, you're grinning, but you've done as much to spread the folk word in and around the Eastern Counties as anybody has, and we owe you a huge debt. We're thrilled that you could come on here tonight, and I'm going to tell people this because I thought I shouldn't, and then I thought, well, yeah, I will, because I think you got it wrong when you said that, when we were talking earlier, that you're not a musician. You are a musician, and what you are is a musician that's also a historian and an academic and a traditionalist and a culturalist. And we thank you for everything that we've done, and we thank you for being here tonight, and the nice things that are pouring in. And I hope that you can come and do it all again. So Steve, and then earlier Vern and Annie, thank you all very much for coming. We're here every other Tuesday, and thanks everybody who's come along. Thanks everybody who's bunged all the messages in. There's millions of them. I've had nothing to do at all, which has been great, and I hope to see you in a couple of weeks' time. So good night, everybody.
Good night, Tom. Thank you.